Hey, what's up coders? Welcome to One Little Coder. In this Python tutorial, we are going to learn how to create animations like you see on the screen, how to make Matplotlib animations. So if you want to make animated charts using Python, especially with Matplotlib library, you are in the right video. Let's get started without further ado. First, I'm using a Kaggle notebook. So this Kaggle notebook would be linked in the YouTube description. So you can just directly go there, click the Kaggle notebook, copy and edit, and then get started with that. The libraries that we're going to use that we need is first we need celluloid. Celluloid is going to help us in creating the animation. And then every other library that you see is something that we have already used. So we're going to use Matplotlib for making charts. Celluloid, like we discussed, Celluloid is going to help us in creating the animation, and we want pandas for, of course, reading the data frame. So once we load all the libraries, the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to read the data set. In this case, I'm using a latest Kaggle data set, which talks about the Ukraine related tweets, and this is a tweet related data set. So if you have ever used TweetPy or RTweet, this is how you would get a data set which has got a lot of elements. So after you read that, let me read this, and then after you read that, you can do df.head to see what is there the data set. So this is how the data set looks. But do we need all these columns? No, of course not. What we are trying to plot, what we are trying to animate is the number of tweets on a given day. So what I might retain is I might keep the ID column and also the date column. So we want to extract only the ID and date. So now let's extract only the ID and date. After we have ID and date, this is how it's going to look. This is how it's going to look. So let me show you. So this is how it looks. But do we want a date as a timestamp? No, we actually want date as date so that we can aggregate all the tweets. We can do a count of it. So I'm going to do date. So I'm going to first extract date time from this, convert it to date time, and then extract date from this. So just to repeat, this is currently a string. So I'm taking the string and then converting into date time object. And from the date time object, I'm extracting date from it, and that will finally give us a date. So if I say df, you can see that we have got ID and we have got date. So what do we have to do next? At this point, we have got the ID and then we have got date. All we have to do is we have to count the ID for every single day. That's what every single day. That's what we're going to do next. We have to say take the data frame, count the date, do not sort it, and then rename the axis as date and rename the index as tweet count. So let me run this, and then after I run this, you can see that if I do head of df underscore count, you get a date column and you get a tweet underscore count column. So if we have got two columns, date and tweet count, how did we arrive at this? We took this data frame and we said take the date and take a count of it and then rename the axis. The first one, call it date, and then index, call it tweet count. So right now we have got the data frame in the right format, like even I don't have to do head. So the data frame we have got in the right format. You can see that we have got 14 rows, starting from Feb 28th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd until 24th March. So I'm recording this video on 25th March. So we have got data until yesterday, 24th March. So this is what we have to now plot. So what are we going to do for that? The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to make two like we are going to create two objects. One is date, the other one is date a tweet count. So we're going to call it dates, right? The other one is tweet count, y. So we're going to create these things, and after we do that, we are going to use this to make the plot. So we're going to use this. We don't need this. We're going to use this to make the plot. So what are we going to do that for that? So we're going to do a couple of things. First, we need to set up our layout. The first thing we need to do is we need to set up our layout. So set up our matplotlib figure layout. So whatever size you want, what all the things that you want, you can define it here. So first you are going to define the matplotlib figure layout. If you want to handle multiple charts, if you want to handle legends, then you might have to do something like this where you have got a plot. In my case, I'm dealing with only one chart, quite a simple one. So I'm not doing that the multiple thing. So I don't need figure and axis both. I just need figure. But if you need like this is how you should do. So after I set up my layout, which is like I've given width as 8 and height as 6, and then I've set up my figure layout. Now I have to place my camera. So I'm placing my camera. So camera comes from, to quickly show you, it comes from celluloid. From celluloid, we have got the camera. So camera is what takes the snap of every single chart. So if you are quite familiar with animation, how does an animation work basically? So the animation usually works like this. So you've got numbers, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like so on until 30. So assume that these are like different numbers on every single snap photo. So now you're going to run these numbers at 30 frames per second. So you've got 30 frames. You're going to run these numbers like play very fast at 30 frames per second, 30 fps. So now that becomes like a 1 second animation. So this is like the basic fundamental of animation. You take multiple snaps, you stitch them together, you run them at a particular speed, in this case 30 frames per second, and that will give you the animation that you want. The same way, we're going to use a camera and we're going to take a snap of every single Matplotlib chart. And how do we decide what Matplotlib chart to take? So we are going to iterate from 0 to the length of y. So to the length of y. What is the length of y? 15. So for every single element, we're going to make a chart, and then another chart, another chart, another chart, another chart. And then we are going to take a snap at every instance. Like for example, first time you would make only one line. Second time you would make two lines. Third time you would make three lines. So it's like a cumulative chart. And I can show you the chart as well. So we are going to say for I in the range of 0 to length of y, which of course is 15. We're going to say take this data. So take this data which has got dates and y. We have already got dates and y. We're going to say, okay, now take only the 0th element. Now take in the second iteration, take 0 and 1. Now 0, 1, 2. So this goes on like this, and in every iteration you're going to take a snap. So in every iteration you're going to take a snap. Let me quickly show you how does it look when you make multiple charts. So what you are seeing is basically the last element, but I'm going to show you every iteration. So after you do this, all you have to do is make a plot. Make a plot with your new dates z, which is, this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, what kind of line you want and what is the color of the line you want, and fit the tight layout will help you separate axis the way you want. Like it will automatically do that for you. Once I run this, you would start seeing charts coming up. The first thing is completely empty. Second, you can see first thing is completely empty. Second, you would see a line. Third, you would see line. So you can see like two, and then like this it goes on and on and on, and after 15 charts you have got this. After 15 frames, like if I have to literally count, this is the layout that we just defined. So this is like the first instance: 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14. Maybe I missed something, but yeah. So you've basically got 14 frames, or maybe 14 frames. Let's say 14 frames. And for all these instances, you have got a snap. So you make one chart, take a pic of it. You make second chart, take a pic of it. Now what are we going to do? So now we know that our camera has got all these snaps. Now we are going to say, okay, animate all these snaps that you have got stored in the camera. Okay, that's what we're going to say. We're going to say animate. We're going to say, did we already say that? No, we didn't say that. We're going to say animation is equal to animation equals camera dot animate. Then we're going to run this. When we run this snaps all the individual snaps that we took. It has become an animation at this point. Let's see if that animation is still valid. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and paste it here and then run this. Let's see if the animation works. The animation did not work. Did it work? It did not work. Why? Maybe probably because we did plot.show. So let me run this again and run this. So we have got the final chart, and I'm going to run this. And at this point, you can see the animation. Yes, of course, we have got the animation. So you can see the speed. So if you want to control the speed, you can control the speed. You can say interval equal to, I can say, 1000. Okay, so I can rerun this. I can come back here and then I can run this. So now the animation is going to be very slow. The animation is going to be very slow. You can basically control how fast or how slow you want the animation, so that, based on your data point, how much data point you want, where do you want to store down. So based on all these things, you can actually optimize this animation. And if you want to save this animation, you can either save it as GIF, or you can export it as MP4 if you've got a FFmpeg installed on your machine. But if you're doing it on Collab, or if you're doing it on Kaggle notebook or any other notebook environment, you can just simply display the animation. Like here, you have got the animation. You don't have to even save it as an MP4. Still, like on Collab, you can download it like this. Like you can download it like this. But if you want to download it with high resolution, you've got a save animation option. But otherwise, you can simply use the HTML5 video player. You can convert into an HTML5 video and then enclose it with HTML, and then you would see the animation. So I'm going to quickly change. And you might wonder, why am I rerunning this every time I change the animation? If I don't do that, let me show you. Let me show you what happens. So I've got a very slow animation. So now I'm going to have a very fast animation. Okay, 30, and then if I run this, you would see the animation very fast. So I would prefer running this all the time, so that it doesn't come with any baggage. It doesn't have any old data point plotted. So that's why I usually run this again and again. So this is quite fast, doesn't look good. So if you don't want to define anything, you can just leave it default, and then you can run this, and you can see it goes at a decent pace, and then you have got it. So I hope this video was helpful. So once again, to quickly recap, so we started installing the library called Celluloid. After that, we imported Matplotlib, we imported Celluloid camera from Celluloid and Pandas data frame. We read the tweet dataset, Ukraine related tweet dataset. We extracted only the ID and date, which is what will help us in giving the date everyday count. After we got this, we had date as a string. We converted, or we extracted date time from the string, and we extracted date from this. So first we typecasted it into date time, and then we extracted date from it. After that, we wanted to take a count of number of tweets every single day. So we got what are the tweet counts. So we used value counts to get that. After we got that, we created two new Python objects. One is dates for the x-axis, the other one is our y-axis, and then we set up our matplotlib figure layout. We set up a camera based on the figure. So we said every time you iterate it, make one chart for that particular component. For example, first time you plot for one row, second time you plot for two rows, and just so on until you hit the end. And that's what this for loop is doing. At every instance, for every chart, you are making a camera snap. And after you do all these things, you take the same camera object and then you animate it, and then you display the animation as an HTML5 video. And if you want to download it, you can click here and download, or you can also say save animation and then export it as GIF or a MP4 file, like if you have got FFmpeg installed. And that's it. Like I said at the start of the video, this Kaggle notebook will be linked in the YouTube description. So you can directly go to the description and click the notebook and then check it out. If you have any comments or feedback for me, let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, I would love to know what animation you made, or also I would love to know if this video was helpful to you. Take care. Have a nice day. Happy coding.